So let's now discuss electromagnetic waves. So before discussing how electromagnetic waves are generated, let's discuss the dilemma that Maxwell was facing. So let's say that we have a scenario when we have a capacitor, and this capacitor is connected through, let's say, a battery. There may be a resistor over here, and this is a normal circuit. Now, according to the Ampere's law, what was Ampere's law? Ampere's law states that the line element of B dot B, a magnetic field, is equal to mu naught I. So this statement is that whenever we have current, we will have a magnetic field. Or vice versa, whenever we have a magnetic field, we will obtain a current. So let's suppose that in this wire we have this circuit. So in this wire there is a current, okay, there is a current which is flowing from positive terminal to the negative terminal. But the problem is there is no current here. How? Because we know that what is the definition of current? Flow, rate of flow of charge. So obviously there is no wire, there is no charge here which is flowing, so the current is zero here. So how does the magnetic field is produced here? The magnetic field was also produced near the capacitor. So how is it produced? So the Ampere's law does not tell us anything about that. So Maxwell added a new term. Maxwell tried to rectify this mistake. So Maxwell, what did he found out? Maxwell said that there are two types of currents. One is the conduction current and one is the displacement current. So what is this? So the conduction current is the usual current which is due to the flow of electrons, usual current due to the flow of electrons. But displacement current is the current which is imaginary current, and it is produced when there is change in electric field. So when we are going from one location to another, the electric field is changing. So when the electric field is changing, then there will be a current here, and that current is called the displacement current. So it is not due to the charges. So Maxwell introduced a new term called displacement current, and according to Maxwell, the formula for displacement current is epsilon naught d phi E by dt, rate of change of electric flux with respect to time. So the Ampere's law was modified by Maxwell, and another term, displacement current term, was introduced in the Ampere's law. So now we can move on to the concept of electromagnetic waves. So how are the electromagnetic waves produced? So we know that changing electric field can generate changing magnetic field, and changing magnetic field can generate changing electric field. So what happens, let's say if we have an electric field initially, so it is changing with time. So what will happen? It will generate a magnetic field. Now this magnetic field in turn will generate another electric field, and this electric field will again generate a magnetic field. So there will be a cycle, and because of that electric and magnetic field will keep on getting generated. So electromagnetic waves are generated because of the changing electric and magnetic fields. Now the important thing is that the electric field, magnetic field, and the direction of propagation of wave is perpendicular to each other. Let's say electric field is in x direction and magnetic field is in y direction, then the direction of propagation will be z axis. So electromagnetic wave is generated by changing electric and magnetic fields. So how can we change the electromagnetic field? So it can be changed using accelerating charge particles. So whenever charge particle accelerates, then electric field and magnetic fields are time varying, that is they are changing with time. So electromagnetic waves are generated by accelerating charges. Now this equation is the wave equation for electromagnetic wave. So let's say we have electric field in the x direction. So this is general equation, quite simple equation, sinusoidal wave, where this is the amplitude of the electric field, and this is the phase. Now omega is the angular frequency, t is the time period, k is the propagation constant, x is the displacement. So this is all done in the wave part that we have discussed earlier. So amplitude, magnetic field amplitude, then this is the phase, angular frequency, time period, propagation constant and displacement. So this is usual sinusoidal wave equation. So the electromagnetic wave has this sinusoidal wave equation. Now there are a lot of formulas that are very useful in finding different things. So for example, if you need to find the speed of light, so let's say you need to find the speed of light in vacuum. So Maxwell, using the 4 equations, found out that the speed of light in vacuum is c equal to 1 upon root mu naught into epsilon naught. Now where, remember, mu naught is the permittivity of mu naught is the permeability of free space and epsilon naught is the permittivity of free space. So what is permittivity? Epsilon naught, it tells us about how easily the electric field can flow, and what is permeability? It tells us about how easily the magnetic field can flow. So these are two terms which are constant. These two terms are constant. So what we get, the value of speed of light in vacuum is 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. Now this is amazing. Why amazing? Because this is a constant. The speed of light is a constant. So why is this amazing? It is amazing because let's say I give you a scenario. So let's say the light is coming your way and you are also moving towards the light. So let's say you are moving by the velocity c by 2. So what will be the relative velocity? So the relative velocity logically should be c plus c by 2, because you are moving in opposite direction towards each other, c plus c by 2. So it will be 2c plus c, that is 3c by 2, or you can say 1.5c. So the speed of light as observed by this object will be 1.5c. But what does this statement say? This statement say that the speed of light will always be 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second, that is it will always be equal to c. But here what we are getting 1.5c. So what is this concept? This concept is this concept will be later further discussed in the special theory of relativity. So this is amazing that the speed of light in vacuum is always constant. Whether you are moving towards the light, whether you are moving away from the light, the speed of light will always appear to be 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. Now this value can also be found using the peak values of electric and magnetic field components. Now let's say the light is moving in any medium. So then in that case, instead of mu naught epsilon naught, we will have mu and epsilon, where mu is the permeability in medium and epsilon is the permittivity in the medium. And we know that mu is equal to mu naught mu r, relative permeability, and epsilon is equal to epsilon naught and epsilon r, relative permittivity. So this is the formula for speed of light in any medium. So if you want to find the speed of light in any medium, then you can use this formula. Now there are a lot of different types of electromagnetic waves: radio waves, microwave, IR rays, visible rays, UV rays, X rays, gamma rays. So these all are different types of electromagnetic waves. So only this visible range is this visible range can be observed by our eyes. Okay, just like in sound, we cannot listen to all the sounds. The hearing range is 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. So similarly, we cannot see all the electromagnetic waves. We can only see the visible range electromagnetic waves, which have 7 different colors, violet to red. So we can only see this much. But this and this is also there. This is also electromagnetic wave, and we are not able to see that. There are few birds or insects and different animals which can either see IR rays or UV rays also. So different animals can see different ranges also. So how are they arranged? How are these waves arranged? So these are arranged in the sequence of decreasing wavelength or increasing frequency. So the wavelength is maximum of radio wave, and maximum minimum wavelength is of gamma rays, and a minimum frequency of radio waves and maximum frequency of gamma rays. We know that wavelength and frequency are inverse of each other, inversely proportional. So if wavelength is more, frequency is less, and again energy is directly proportional to the frequency. So frequency less, therefore energy less, frequency more, therefore energy more. So in these 7 colors, Red has radio wave has the least energy, least frequency, and maximum wavelength, and gamma rays has the most energy, most frequency, and the least wavelength. Now let's discuss few applications and how do we obtain them. So radio waves are used in radio transmission, TV signal transmission, mobile signal transmission. You must have heard about radio stations and everything. So they are generated using AC circuits. So there are circuits in which alternating current is used. So by those circuits we can produce radio waves. Now microwave is used in the microwave oven. It is used in cooking the food, heating up the food. Radar, radio detection and ranging, which is used by the planes, also in TV communication, and this can be obtained using vacuum tubes. So vacuum tubes are again devices which are not used nowadays, but these are again devices which can produce changing electric and magnetic fields in the range of microwaves. In the range of microwaves. Now next is the IR rays. So IR rays, infrared rays are used in infrared cameras, which are night vision cameras. So how are infrared cameras operating? So the humans or most of the animals emit infrared rays. We emit heat in the form of infrared rays. Our body is emitting heat. So the infrared cameras can sense the infrared rays, and then in the night vision the objects which are giving the infrared rays are colored differently, for usually red color, and the objects which are not giving that much infrared rays are colored in bluish or greenish color. So we can observe humans in the darkness using the infrared sensors. Then it is also used in finding the internal structure of the molecules. Let's say this is a substance having multiple molecules, so we can incident IR rays on it and we can observe the structure of the molecule. Now this can be produced by the excitation of different atoms. Now visual range, human visual range. So this is used for visuals. We cannot see anything without this visible range, visible light, and this can be generated using exciting the atoms and molecules. Now UV rays are the rays which sun emits a lot and the ozone layers absorbs it, and UV rays can be used to find the internal structure of the atoms, just like IR rays, and this is again produced by the excitation of atoms and molecules. Then X-rays are used in bone X-rays. X-ray therapy is there, which is used for treating cancer also. And then industrial radiography is there, in which we map or we can obtain the structure of different objects, and this is obtained by sudden retardation of high energy electrons. If you suddenly change the velocity, if there is an electron which is moving, let's say with very high velocity, and you suddenly change its velocity, then it will emit electromagnetic wave in the range of X-rays. Now let's say there is gamma rays. So gamma rays are again used for finding the internal structure of atoms, molecules, and even nuclei, and gamma rays are the most high energetic EM waves. So they are produced in the radioactivity phenomena, in which the unstable nuclei splits or break into stable nuclei. So in that process of radioactivity we get gamma rays. So these are various ways of obtaining different waves, and these are various applications also. Now in this table you can see the wavelength range and the frequency range. So the wavelength ranges are very important and the frequency ranges are also very important. So as discussed, the wavelength of radio waves will be the most, and as you go down the wavelengths will decrease, and the frequency will be least, and as you go down the frequency will increase. So the wavelength of radio wave is approximately in this range, 10 to the power minus 1 to 10 to the power 4 meters. Everything is in meter here, okay, and everything is in hertz here, cycles per second. So radio waves can be of 10 to the power minus 1 meter, or there can be very large radio waves 10 to the power 4 meters. Literally the wavelength can be in orders of thousands of kilometers. Now this radio wave was discovered in 1895 by Marconi. Microwave has the range 10 to the power minus 3 to 10 to the power minus 1, and its frequency range is 3 to 10 to the power 11 to 10 to the power 8 hertz, and it was discovered by Hertz, and in his honor the unit of frequency is called hertz in 1888. Then IR is 10 to the power minus 7 to 10 to the power minus 5, and this is the frequency range, and it was discovered by William Herschel in 1888. Visible range 10 to 4 into 10 to the power minus 7 to 8 into 10 to the power minus 7, approximately 400 nanometer to 800 nanometer, and this is the frequency range. Now the visible range was never discovered, but it was mostly first is studied by Newton, so therefore we are writing Newton as the discoverer. Then UV rays 10 to the power minus 8 to 10 to the power minus 7 meters, and this is the frequency range, and it was discovered by J.W. Rotter in 1801. Then X-rays 10 to the power minus 10 meter to 10 to the power minus 8 meters, and this is the frequency range, and it was accidentally discovered by William Rankine in 1895, for which he got the Nobel Prize also. And gamma rays was studied by Henry Becquerel, A.H. Becquerel, because he was working with radioactive substances, so he studied the gamma rays, and its range is minus 15 to minus 10 meters. So it is very small, okay, very small. Now EM waves and sound waves have some basic differences, so let's discuss about their differences. So electromagnetic waves are always transverse in nature. Transverse means this type of wave, but sound waves are usually longitudinal, like this. Yeah, but sound waves can be transverse as well sometimes, but usually they are longitudinal in air. Then EM waves are produced by accelerating charged particles, and sound waves are produced by the vibrations of the particles of a medium. Let's say we have air, so how is the sound produced? So when the air particle starts to vibrate, then sound is produced. EM waves do not require any medium to propagate. For example, it travels from sun to earth in vacuum, but sound cannot travel from sun to earth because there is vacuum, there is space, so sound needs a medium, because sound itself is a vibration of the particles of medium. EM waves do not require medium because EM waves have their own particle photon, and they are produced by charged particle electromagnetic wave. And EM wave are very fast, and their speed is more in rarer medium and less in dense medium. But in sound, the speed is more in dense medium and less in rarer medium, and it is quite understandable. Why? Because in light the photon particle itself is there, so if the medium is denser, then it will have to collide with many particles and its speed will decrease, and if the density is less, then it can go quite quickly. But what is sound? Sound is the vibration of the particle of the medium itself. So when the medium is denser, the particle vibrations can transmit quickly, but when the medium is rarer, the vibration can take long time to travel from one particle to another, so the speed decreases. So therefore sound is faster in denser medium. EM waves are very fast as opposed to sound waves. The EM waves are transverse in nature, therefore they can show polarization, and the sound waves, longitudinal sound waves, cannot show usually cannot show polarization. So what is polarization? Polarization is a phenomena in which we confine the wave in only one particular direction. So these are the difference between sound and light waves. Now let's discuss about our atmosphere and how the electromagnetic waves interfere or interact with the atmosphere. So in on Earth there are multiple layers of the atmosphere. The layer in which we live is called the troposphere. So in troposphere there are plants, there are houses, there are clouds, so all these things, there are mountains, so all these things are in troposphere. So from Earth's surface up to 12 kilometer troposphere is there. From 0 to approximately 12 kilometers troposphere is there. Then after troposphere, stratosphere comes. It extends from 12 to approximately 50 kilometers, and from 50 to 80 mesosphere is there, and from 80 upward ionosphere, exosphere, thermospheres are there. There are different names for the outer layer, sometimes called exosphere, sometimes called thermosphere, sometimes called ionosphere. So in the troposphere all of us live. Okay, in a stratosphere there is ozone layer. Ozone layer is approximately at around 30 to 40 kilometers of height, which protects us from UV rays. So now what are different EM waves, how the EM waves are interacting with the atmosphere. So you know that first EM wave, that is UV rays, it is absorbed by the ozone layer. So first ozone layer absorbs the UV rays. Next ionosphere. So let's say we are transmitting some signal from troposphere and it is going upward. So what happens is that if we are transmitting radio wave, then those radio waves get reflected from the ionosphere and they come back. So ionosphere reflects the radio waves, and in troposphere there are clouds, there are gases like CH4, CO2. So those gases can reflect the infrared rays also. So here the infrared rays are reflected by the gases and clouds. So this is how the atmosphere reacts with the EM waves. First ozone layer absorbs the UV rays, second ionosphere reflects the radio waves, third troposphere having cloud CO2 reflects the infrared rays, and these are useful in various communication devices.